Hey everybody, Bob Laurier, the Bow Leadership Group podcast, and I'm coming to you from, if I was in the water, I would be in Shallow Bay at Susha. And 8 years ago, I was in this boat, the best life ever, and we were on that yellow kayak in this beautiful water. And Susha, the island in the San Juans, it was actually the bedrock, if that's the right term. They used the stones from Susha to build a lot of Seattle. They first took it over to Roche Harbor, and then they had a kiln and they dried the stone, and then they barged it over to Seattle. And so there are a lot of famous masons and folks that have known about Susha and Roche Harbor over the years. I have some secrets, like masons do, to multifamily real estate to share with you. And so today I want to teach you about how to build multifamily real estate wealth so you can do more good. I'm about to give you one of the biggest secrets in business. It's hard to beat the leverage and advantages of real estate. Charlie Munger knew it, Warren Buffett knows it, and many doctors and lawyers get wealthy because of real estate. Location, 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 not because of education at medical school and law school. And they might get wealthy that way too. I'm talking about location, location, location. I'm talking about real estate. Let's talk about multifamily real estate, because multifamily real estate, when you get up to 20 units or more, even the banks don't care about your personal credit. It becomes a business plan and you are evaluated based on the business. And it takes teamwork and all these other great leadership things that we talk about and work on to do leadership right. Anyway, it helps you to dream big when you think big, like big real estate. So I believe you can achieve your dreams better with a system that's running your dreams like you run a business. And it's rare that systems let people down. It's usually the leadership problem of people not following the leader who has a system, right? You can create a business plan to get your goals. And you can also create a business plan to buy 20 or more apartment units. And that's a magic number, because you could buy 4 units or 4 separate houses, and it would be a lot of running around. And you'd have probably your personal credit involved and all sorts of other things that might make it a little bit riskier, where you aren't actually living your best life ever. Anyway, think of it this way. You have economies of scales and efficiency when you have all of your real estate in one location. That's, of course, because you're managing 20 or more units in one location, not 20 separate houses with separate toilets to clog and things like that. And by the way, I've never met anybody who owns real estate who says, gee, it'd be really great if I didn't have to worry about toilets. That's one of the reasons people give for not investing in real estate. But somebody that owns real estate is smart enough to call a plumber. Anyway, if you have never heard of it before, the 3 most important things in real estate are location, location, location. Today's episode, we'll talk about what it might take to syndicate some real estate and what are the tax advantages of that. We can learn from this even if you do not want to own real estate, because again, the systems and skills are the same: team building, collaboration, and mindset shifts that you can apply to your business and your family and your legacy planning. So welcome to the Bow Leadership Group podcast, where we want you to have a return on your investment of your leadership efforts. So stay tuned. How to get rich might be part of your system. Anyway, a disclaimer after I said that is, you need to do all the due diligence and do the things that you have to do to stay in compliance with all the laws and legal requirements. And when you run a business, and life is a business, I think you should have good friends in accounting, good friends in legal, good friends that help you with marketing, good friends that help you in all these different areas. The biggest mistake people make is trying to do it all themselves when they dream big. Your home sweet home is important, and I'm on a mission to help people live in a safe place. Why? Because every year in the United States, approximately 9,000 people who are unhoused die from exposure to vulnerabilities and not having a safe place to live. So, multifamily investing is not just some way to get wealthy, it's also a way you can help out with this problem. Let's learn how cap rates work. You may want to listen to this one a few times until you get it. I certainly had to read about it a lot of times, a little more than I'd like to admit. But anyway, cap rates are one of the ways that you look at multifamily real estate to understand it. Again, listen to this a few times, let it sink in. Multifamily real estate means buying apartment buildings with multiple rental units, usually 5 or more, right? It's 20 or more when it becomes a magical number of, you don't have to use your personal credit. So again, the magic number is what? 20. That's right. Okay. So I've covered that multiple times. Hopefully everybody got it. At that rate of 20 units or more, you also have economies of scale to go to 100, right? Now, I'm not saying go out and just do 100 and it's easy peasy, but when you get good at it, there are people that don't want to even mess with it if it's less than 100 units because they've got the game down, right? And that could be you. And when it's you, maybe invite me out on your yacht. Anyway, commercial investment follows a plan and not your personal credit. Investors make money from cash flow, number one, monthly income after all expenses are paid, and two, appreciation. The property values do increase over time historically. And three, tax benefits like depreciation and cost segregation. We'll talk about cost segregation a little bit later, but it is a deep subject that is worthy of an accountant. I am not an accountant. I am not a lawyer. I'm not a certified investment strategist, and I am not a fiduciary. So all of those people are handy to have around. And a fiduciary is somebody who actually has your best interests in mind. A lot of stockbrokers out there are not fiduciaries. A lot of people getting you to invest in real estate scams are not fiduciaries. So do your homework and your research. But there are tax benefits like depreciation and cost segregation. That's a fact. The equity buildup is another way you make money. Tenants are paying down your mortgage. The key number to understand, though, is the cap rate or capitalization rate. It's calculated as cap rate equals net operating income, or often abbreviated as NOI, over the purchase price. So the numerator is net operating income. You write that down, slash over purchase price. For example, write this down. If you have an apartment and it brings in 100,000 in NOI and you buy it for $1 million, you take the NOI and put it over the million, right? So the 100,000 over the 1 million, and that equals a cap rate of 10%. So the math is really easy on that one, right? But it obviously would be different and depend on your numbers. You could pay $427,396 and the math would be just as easy with a calculator. But the cap rate tells you how much return you're getting on your investment before debt. When interest rates go up from 5% to 6%, for example, buyers often need to pay less for the same deal to keep cash flow positive. So higher interest rates compress the value of real estate, which means investors either have to buy at a lower price, improve the NOI by raising rents or lowering expenses, or bring in more capital to the deal. So the cap rate is not just math, it's a negotiation tool. It also drives how investors get paid. It's also a fast way to compare one property to another. In syndications, these are where you have investors and limited partners. Typically, they receive a return like 7 to 8%, plus a share of the profits when the property is sold. Remember, real estate, you make money all those different ways that I listed earlier. Another reason to go back and listen to this again is because you don't just make money like with a stock and the price going up. You have the appreciation, cash flow, and a share of the properties when the property's sold, like when you sell a stock. Anyway, if you're buying your own building, you earn the spread between your income and your mortgage. And if you used smart leverage and good underwriting, your return can outpace the stock market even. Now, there are ways to make money in the stock market, and I think the stock market is a great way to build wealth too. And maybe later we'll talk about selling some puts and making a little money on the options when you get into a stock. But let's look at how cash flows work and cap rates are different in real estate. So again, we're looking at cash flow and the cap rate and how they're different in real estate. I look at these things simply like a fifth grader might, because that's how I can make it simple enough to understand. The cap rate is a way to measure how much money the building earns before paying the mortgage. So it's like saying if I paid all cash, what percent would I make each year? Cash flow is what's left over every month after you pay all your bills, especially the mortgage. So the cap rate equals how good the deal looks without the loan. Cash flow, on the other hand, is how much money ends up in your pocket each month after paying the loan. And as we'll discuss in a moment, there are unexpected things you have to be ready for. So that's why we use something called a debt service coverage ratio, or DSCR, debt service coverage ratio, DSCR. It's a fancy term that says, hey, do you want to make at least 25% more than your mortgage payments in case you need to call a plumber? Absolutely. Anyway, if your mortgage is $10,000 a month, again, easy number, $10,000 a month, you want your net operating income to be at least $12,500. That's a DSCR of 1.25. So 1.25 versus your monthly cash flow gives you that number. And banks, I don't know why I said it that way. Banks love that number, right? They want you to have a little money left over. And if there's one thing that entrepreneurs blow all the time, is they're not paying themselves. And oftentimes, financing plans and business plans get rejected when the business owner doesn't have enough money, and the banks can tell it that they can't pay their own mortgage at home and keep their wife or husband happy on the numbers that they've given. You need to have a little bit of profit in there to be able to make things fly and be motivated to go to work. And the banks want you to go to work. Banks want you to love the number too, right? If everybody loves the number, then it's a great deal. Anyway, you've got room for repairs, vacancies, and surprises when you have a 1.25 in general. Again, it depends on the property. A brand new apartment might not need as high a debt service coverage ratio. A beat up old slumlord owned place with vermin and potential structural issues, you might need a separate, completely separate investment and caveats to your investors that you don't know how bad it's going to be, but you hope to turn it around with your business plan. Anyway, there's ways to handle all these different things, but the cap rate and cash flow, debt service coverage ratio, these are the gems that you need to talk with your banks and brokers. How can you benefit with some hard work by taking over a slumlord's ugly property? Now, this is part of what I think is just beautiful about leadership, thinking big and thinking in a genius way. Nobody wants to live in a slum. I'm pretty sure of it. So nobody wants to live where it's dangerous. And if somebody does, they are delusional, right? You don't want problems everywhere. And there are landlords that are slumlords, and it really may be no fault of their own. They may have had health issues. They may have had a bad divorce. They may have had just a lot of time go by and they didn't realize how bad it got. But you might be able to find these fixer upper multifamily places and talk to that slumlord who doesn't want to be one. He might even underwrite your deal. He might finance it for you, and you can make improvements so that people like where they live instead of living with dread and embarrassment about where they live. And let's face it, it's tough. Again, 9,000 people are completely unhoused and dying in the United States. That's a lot of people every month. So let's suppose you find a beat up old building where your tenants want the landlord to improve things, but he's too lazy or unable. Perhaps the landlord is old, tired, and has health problems. You can come in, create value for tenants, and make it nicer for the whole neighborhood, beautifying the whole world, in my mind. In fact, fixing up an apartment can make you more money and let you take out money without paying taxes. Did I just say without paying taxes? I did. And everyone wins. The tenant gets a better place to live. You know, you can, if somebody says, I can't afford more rent and I'm okay with how my apartment is, you don't have to do their apartment until they move out. Do everybody that wants it. There's ways to negotiate these things. Don't just look at slumlords as slumlords and a property is distressed forever. Have a business plan. But you can actually take money out without paying taxes. So let's do this like a fifth grader again. Make it simple. Let's say you buy an old apartment building, it's run down. Again, bad management means not a landlord, but a slumlord. The kitchens are ugly, the floors are beat up, and the rent is cheap because no one wants to pay much to live there, and they won't because it's not great. So let's make it awesome. Step one, fix it up. You spend money to put in new kitchens. These could be kitchens with shiny appliances that are also energy efficient. Fresh cabinets sealed off so that no mice or vermin can get in. New floors and paint in the walls so the tenants would be proud to bring their mother in law over. Maybe upgrade the lighting or bathrooms to save the tenants on their power bills, just like those appliances that you put in that are energy efficient also may save them on their power bills. And if you have the money to do it, maybe you could do that just to have that feeling of goodwill and giving to your fellow man that they can have a nice place. There are people out in the world that have billions and they can get a reasonable return on their money and fix things up and not raise the rent. So if you're saying I have to raise the rent, no, you don't have to raise the rent. Anyway, now the place looks great. Step two, raise the rent because your building looks better. You can charge more rent. And people are happy to pay it if you improve things. They're safer. Again, pride of ownership. I don't know what it is exactly with the aesthetics and everything. I've studied it a lot. So I understand there is a lift. I can measure it. I can do the math on it. I can do equations on it. But people, they're going to say, I don't like it. Just like they say they don't like the price of popcorn at the movies, but they're going to buy into it like the popcorn at the movies because we like popcorn at the movies. We like a nice place to live. But again, you don't have to raise the rents. You can do improvements. And as the property appreciates, you can get money out of it. But one quick way to do it is to find a property that you can improve and make everybody happy. And that'll allow you to take people who might have a situation where they're paying $900 a month. And then after fixing it, you can charge them $1,200 a month. And there are other ways that you might raise that average to $1,200 a month without raising it on Grandma Moses, who lives in one of the units. You might raise it on everybody else and add like bicycle storage or electric car charging or laundry or a gym. And those are things that other people are willing to pay for, which subsidizes Grandma Moses's place and the other places too. Now, I am not also an expert on fair lending and fair practices, so I'm not sure about exactly how you need to do these things and word these things, but I'm pretty sure that if you don't raise the rent on some tenants and you don't make improvements, that's fine. Some people have the model of when people move out, they fix that apartment up and they get the same sort of lift over time, especially in a high turnover area. And that also allows you to say you can move people to a new apartment at a higher rate, or they can stay where they are at a lower rate a little bit over time, and you don't have to come out with big capital outlays all at once. There are many ways to do this. But step three is the building is now worth more because you fixed it up. Remember that math trick called the cap rate? It's like a score to use to compare one multifamily investment to another, but the cap rate is just an awesome way to help figure out the building's value. So before your building made 90,000 a year, let's say, and it was worth about $1 million, after your building makes 120,000 a year. So it's worth about 1.3 million. That's an extra 300,000 in value. You created it by improving the building. Step four, refinance. Take out money without paying taxes. Now, here's the cool part. You can go to the bank and say, hey, my building is worth more now. Can I get a new loan based on the value? A good bank will help you do that because they don't want you to go to the other bank. They would like to have you continue making payments to them. The bank says yes, and then you get a new loan, maybe for 1.1 million this time, and you use part of that money to pay off your old loan, and the rest you can take and keep, or maybe invest it in a swimming pool for your property, or again, laundry facilities, or other things that might make you money over time. And also, if it makes money, it improves the cap rate, right? How would you like $100,000 or $200,000 tax free? It's tax free. Why? because loans aren't income. In the accounting schemes of the world that I did not invent, and you need to talk to an accountant and an attorney sometimes, you don't pay tax on borrowed money, though. That's the general idea of it. It's like getting paid without getting taxed. So, in summary, buy a fixer upper. Let's say a 20 plus unit building. Make it nice. Make it nice for people and safe for people and add value to their lives. Raise the rent and raise the rent in a way that makes everybody happy. Rent goes up, value goes up. Refinance it, take money out, tax free. You still own the building, it's still making cash flow, and now you have cash in hand to do it again. Again, another thing that can happen in this process is, let's say you have a 3-year deal with your investors to get 6 to 8% in 3 years. If you can raise the rents in the first 2 years, you might be able to speed that up and take a loan out and pay off your investors and keep the building. And you might be able to, if you're keep that building for 30 years, leave the rents as they are and continue to improve things because you'll own the building free and clear. Now, that's a real legacy. And there's nothing like tax-free cash in hand. Anyway, Ecclesiastes 11:6 says, sow your seeds in the morning, and in the evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed. The Bible encourages us to dream big, to work diligently, and to steward opportunity. Luke 12:48 reminds us, to whom much is given, much will be required. My mentor, John Maxwell, brings that up all the time, and it really is one of the things that makes life worth living, is being able to do the right thing. And if you're being stirred to build wealth, it may not just be for your comfort. It might be part of your calling, because what would you do with the money that you had to advance your cause? Some people want to improve literacy. Some people want to help homeless people. Some people want to improve vaccines. They'll help people to eradicate polio and other diseases in the world. It may be just because your vision isn't about you alone. So why bigger means better? Sometimes it means you have a team, and sometimes it means doing things at scale means working with others. Whether it's multifamily real estate or launching a mission-driven business, you can't do it alone. Teamwork isn't just practical, it's spiritual. And Ecclesiastes 4:9 says, two are better than one because they have good return for their labor. And there is something magical about that in economics too, because when you add two people and they're able to share the load, carry the ladder or other tools together, do things together, they do get more work done. Their productivity is higher than if they're working alone. Maybe it's you don't want to let your fellow man down. Whatever it is, you can improve disciplines and relationships, and this can help you with funding, legal issues, leadership, operations, and it's universal for anybody called to build. Now, there could be resistance to this in the beginning, a lack of collaboration, and the first response from your spouse might be, no, that's okay. Resistance is often the first step towards alignment. Collaboration requires influence, and influence begins with clarity, and leadership is nothing if it's not influence. So you get to build your leadership skills just trying to do something like this and dreaming big. And one of the funny things about multi-level marketing, which to be honest, I haven't seen go away, and it's been around for a long time, and people have said it's going to stay. And there are things that are similar in e-commerce that are like multi-level marketing. But one of the fascinating things about it is nearly no one is successful, even at multi-level marketing, the first time they try it. Do not do anything illegal. Do not do anything that cheats your fellow man, because I think honestly it chips away at your own soul. But if you want to live your best life ever, it's usually about making memories with other people, celebrating those victories along the way. And to raise money from others, that's one way to do real estate investing. And most anyone that I've ever heard of that's in their 20s, unless their parents give them a bunch of money or rich Aunt Alice or something, they don't have the money to buy a multifamily unit. But collaborating with others, you might be able to get the job done by learning from people that have done it before you. So investors, donors, and customers You need to give them a reasonable, compelling story. And I think that's a lot of what marketing does and advertising as well when done right. You're giving a reasonable offer, information that shows why people need something. There's people that worry about all their personal information being shared in the world. But if you do share your personal information with people, sometimes you get what you need to move ahead. And so it takes a little bit of vulnerability to say, hey, I don't know how to do this, but I want to learn how to do this. And once you learn how to do it and you learn what the value is to customers, you can share that with customers too. Whether you're selling a widget or a multifamily building, there are benefits and barriers to buying. So think about it in those ways. List out your barriers, list out your benefits, and think about what do you have to do. And some of the people that I've known that have been best at making money do things the fastest way possible. But it may have more of a soul value for you if you can actually improve a slum, improve an area where people need things. And it's serious business when you look at it that way, right? If you're syndicating, it takes legal help to avoid going against the SEC, and what the SEC wants you to do can be complex. So there are things you can say to an accredited investor, somebody that knows the business, versus your Aunt Alice or somebody in your family who isn't an accredited investor. In fact, you probably need to approach those people first and say, hey, I'm doing real estate. See if they have any interest in real estate. If they don't, move on, right? But if they did show some interest, then you need a separate approach from them. That's an SEC rule. You can't just go up to people and get them to invest in one sitting. That by itself is against the law. I've only recently learned that. I don't know what the law is. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a fiduciary. I'm not an accountant. And I don't even own any multifamily real estate at this moment. But I want to, and I hope to in the next 90 days. Anyway, if you get into trouble pitching to friends and relatives without following the SEC rules, shame on you. This is leadership and multifamily mindset. Leadership in real estate starts when someone trusts you enough to put their money behind your vision. And that's true no matter what your vision is, whether it's multifamily real estate or not. Multifamily is just one tool, but it's a really great tool in terms of the 4 ways you can make money. And tools plus money equals impact. You need tools and money to build and to have an impact and leave a legacy. And people always talk about with real estate investing other people's money. And it isn't a shortcut, because you need to provide value and communications and help those investors. And investors might like the idea of a steady monthly income from tenant paid rents over the volatility that we're having in the stock market right now. Today, it goes up and down. Or you're worried, we just bombed Iran. What is that going to do to the stock market? If you have stabilized rent in a good building and you're providing value to people that live there, it's pretty stable, rides through the recession pretty well, usually. We had some troubles in COVID. We've had some troubles with properties that are going down in value. In fact, there are some places in Austin, Texas right now where the home buyers are underwater like they were in 2008. And these things repeat. So you really need to be careful. You really need to take into account history. And another reason to use other people's money, in my personal opinion, is because, like I said, it's not a shortcut. In fact, if you are responsible for other people's money, not just yours, you might do a better job, be a little more diligent, and everybody might benefit from that kind of stewardship. When someone believes in your vision and invests, you have to take that sacred duty and multiply that investment for the good of all. Real estate is one of the most direct ways to provide lasting value. It creates homes, jobs, dignity, and yes, cash flow. And cash flow gives you freedom. Whether you're a doctor, lawyer, or a Walmart truck driver, here's a key strategy that can serve you. Investing in real estate and using an advanced real estate technique called cost segregation. This is the one I talked about earlier, and it's basically a way to save on your taxes. Now, this is particularly effective for doctors, lawyers, people with big incomes, And sometimes Walmart truck drivers make pretty good money, 80 to $120,000. I've heard. I don't know if that's correct, and I don't know what sorts of expenses that entails, but do your due diligence, and cost segregation can help you to accelerate depreciation on your investment property. Instead of depreciating the building over 27 and a half years or 30 years, you break out parts of it, like the appliance that you just added, the flooring, the lighting, anything that wears out faster. And you depreciate those over 5, 7, or 15 years. That means in year one, you could probably show a paper loss on your taxes, which offsets earned income. For high income earners like doctors or lawyers or anyone making a steady W 2 income, this can be a powerful way to reduce your taxable income legally. It's how many successful investors shelter thousands of dollars in income while building equity and cash flow. But to use this strategy, you need to qualify as a real estate professional and invest through syndications where the cost segregation benefits flow to you as a limited partner. So it involves some more structure. Oftentimes people will have trusts and other things when they're operating this way, and it becomes more complicated the more layers you get. But at the same time, I know not of too many other deals where you can have this kind of cost segregation. People do have cost segregation and are able to do similar things with aviation and jet ownership and things like that. But the FAA is more likely to be involved and get in your hair. And they're also likely to send the IRS your way if you're doing aviation things. Even if you're doing things correctly, it may take more time to deal with the federal people that are looking over these areas like aviation. Whereas in real estate, people are pretty pro real estate in the federal government and in the business community because it provides that value that we all want, that roof over our head. It's a basic need. Anyway, why real estate isn't just money, it's a mission. Housing is just not a need. Again, it's a crisis. And in the US, 700 unhoused people die every single month due to exposure, illness, or violence. And that's, again, I said 9,000 people a year. Your project, your multifamily complex could literally save lives. Well, if it's not a sin, hoarding is. And if you have it in your heart to help and you have it in your heart to own these assets, let them let you serve. That's why multifamily real estate done ethically is one of the most powerful levers for social good. Now, mindset into a movement. In business school, we learned that mindset isn't valuable until the rubber hits the road and you take action. That's the rubber hitting the road is the action part. And mindset isn't just belief, it's behavior over time in a systematic way, ideally following a business plan. And as our friend Tony Robbins suggests, we not only take action, but we take massive action. Let's build the habit of thinking bigger, acting with integrity, inviting others into the journey. And whether you're a GP, LP, donor, or a dreamer, your mindset is the foundation. Your message is the multiplier. And thanks for listening to the Bow Leadership Group podcast, where we want you to get an ROI in your leadership efforts. Go to the bowleadershipgroup.com website and email me, and I'll send you a 90-day plan to multifamily real estate so you can see some of the elements to buy multifamily real estate. It's not an offer. I'm not selling you anything whatsoever. I'm just showing the kinds of things that one should think about if you're investing in multifamily real estate like I plan to do. No, this is a partial plan with broad strokes. What to do. There are lots of details to iron out. Realize that you can do it, though. Realize that you should get professional real estate, legal, and accounting information and consultations from trained professionals with real estate experience before moving ahead with any real estate. And it's often much better to follow someone who's had that, been there, done that, right? They know how to do it. Ideally, you would set up LLCs and trusts and other things and frameworks to protect your investments in your family, and the cash flow and the opportunities from real estate can be very powerful tools to move you ahead so you can make a real difference in the lives of others. Remember, leadership is about serving others. To do that, you must take care of yourself and your assets with good legal, accounting, and business counsel. Bless you, and take care of your purpose and dreams so that they can take care of you. Work on your business plan. We'll see you next time.